Welcome to Be in the Garden. Welcome to Be in Nature. I trust you're well. I certainly am. Today, in this video, I'm going to be planting out a variety of different plants. So I have an area, can you see me amongst the flowers? I have an area that I'm going to plant these out into. I have an area right here, I'm going to show you, where it could just do with a little boost of colouring, and so that's what I'm going to be doing now. Can you see me? That's what I am amongst the plants. I have an area here. It's amongst my apple trees, or where I have the majority of my apple trees, and the apples are doing really quite well actually. Can you have a look? Have a look. Yeah. So, and the middle end of July we are at the time of filming this. We've got some anemones in this area here, often known as September charm, I believe. I have some blueberries. I have a few that I haven't yet eaten. There are a couple left here. Again, some more apple trees, doing incredibly well. And in this area here, it has just an incredible feel to the garden. I'm not sure whether it picks up on camera, but it has a beautiful feel in this area here. It's a little shaded, which is great. It offers some beautiful shading here as well, underneath the canopy of these trees. But I do have some garden beds here, and I have here some sedum. I think that one's sedum spectabil, and pittosporum, which has got the multi-stems here. I love this tree. I remember buying this for £1. £1 in the UK. It was in the sale, and I picked this up, and it has now grown to provide me with this fantastic shade in this area. However, this area here I think could do with a little bit of flowers, just a little bit more of a splash of colouring in this area. On the other side of this actually, we had, or we still do have, the Leylandii, but they have been cut down a little bit because they were getting a little bit on the tall side. So the Leylandii was shading out, I think, a lot of what was on this side. That said, this area here is a little bit on the shaded sort of side, but I would like to add a splash of colour to go in there with the anemones. And so that's why I've brought this range of flowers for this particular area. So that's all I'm going to do. The ground cover really is a lot of comfrey, and as I've said before, I love comfrey. I absolutely do, and I will continue planting it in different places around the garden. But as they grow, sometimes it can sort of overwhelm an area. So for now, I'm going to pull back some of the comfrey in this area and plant out some of these fabulous flowers, and I will put the details in the footage when it's edited. Okay, so that's what I plan to do just here. So I'll be thinning out some of the comfrey, and if you can see what the area looks like before planting, you'll see it's a beautiful bed area. However, it's just lacking that something, and I think the flowers that I have purchased will just add a little burst of colour and a different feel to this area of the garden. So that's what I'm working on now. Hey. You saw previously some of the plants, and I'm just going to show you those that I'm going to be planting in these beds. I have two garden beds here that they look beautiful, and of course over the seasons they change. So I have tulips that come out in the spring. I also have hellebore in the winter time, but I'm just freshening it up. As you can see, I just showed you some of the borders there, and some of the plants I'm going to put in situ are, here we go, can you see that? They get quite tall. They're like a thistle type plant, and the bees adore, 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 adore them. These are all perennials, so they will grow back each year. It's small at the moment, but it will grow in time. And just to add a splash of colour, now I know from experience that the Rudbeckia likes to get chopped up by the slugs and snails. So I have an idea of what I'm going to do when I plant this one in, because I bought this one in the sale actually. You can sort of see the price tag on there. That was reduced down to £1.38, and I'll put in that video the equivalent, what £1.38 is in UK, you know, money, pounds and pence, what it is in American dollars and cents. So £1.38 is so that I'm hoping to grow and be a beautiful addition to the garden. I've planted it before, but the slugs and snails have absolutely annihilated this plant. I also need to bring you to with an update of how my hostas did. I did a video on me putting some eggshells around my hostas in the hope to prevent the slugs and snails from eating the hostas, and you'll have to stay tuned for that next video to see whether or not I succeeded in having beautiful hostas, but you will need to stay tuned to see how that one went. But anyway, there's that plant there that I'm going to plant in that spot somewhere. I also have, again, that was picked up in the sale, a perennial. So it dies back, but it will come back year after year and get bigger and bigger and bigger, to be honest. So again, that's £1.38. I think that's a great buy, a great find. I have, yeah, I think I showed you the Echinacea already. But Echinacea come in different colours and sizes also. Let me see what I have. What I can show you. What else? Okay, I picked up some more hellebore. This was at the full price, and this is how much they're selling them for. This size, I think this is a 9 centimetre pot. They call these are 9 centimetre pots, and that's the price. These are £2.75, or you can purchase 4 for £10, and that's just to add some more hellebore in this section here. I have, this is a new one to me. I haven't had this one before. Ooh. I have some sedum spectabil. I showed you that earlier on, but this one here is a meandering one. I say meandering because it just sort of like creeps and gets where it needs to get to. But it's called dragon's blood. The name's a little bit, but the colour of the flowers looks quite pretty. Okay, and you can see the leaves are really, really quite small. So I'm just hoping to put this maybe around the edge area so that it's sort of like it just creates a little bit of a border between the taller plants and then where the lawn area is. There isn't much lawn here, to be honest. It's sort of worn down, and I don't care much for lawns, as I keep saying. So I'll be planting this out as well, just to see how they do in that area. So that's the sedum. It's quite a delicate one though, so it might not be wise to have it right on the edge, because if it gets trampled on, these will break and squish. And but I like the idea of the colours. I like that, and the fact that they don't get too tall. And I also have another. Ooh, the table is rocking. Another couple of sedums. This one here. Hopefully you can catch the name there. And what they look like. These are quite delicate plants. And yet another sedum with slightly broader leaves in this instance. Ice plant, but this one sort of has like a single stem to it. But again, I love the reliability of sedum here in the UK. They are a reliable plant. They die back in the winter, and then they will pop back in the springtime. Hold on, I have another sedum for you. This time a variegated type, which is quite new to me. I love that colour. Love, love, love. I love the colours. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And then how many of you recognise this? How many of you recognise this plant here? Absolutely gorgeous. I have one on the kitchen windowsill. It was gifted to me by a lovely friend. And look at the shape of the leaves on here. And they fold away and then just pop back up with the sun. And these very, very, very delicate, dainty, 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 dainty flowers. But they're very reliable. They sort of die back more or less over the winter as well, but they will pop back. They're a house plant as far as I know. In fact, let me just check and see what the suggestions are for this one. Drained soil, so it does suggest it can come out, but I think they're quite delicate. But I love the fact that they are just this like little wispy little flowers, but I have them growing indoors as well. They do incredibly well indoors. They may be more susceptible to the weather outside here, but I've purchased a couple of these and I'm going to be planting those out. Don't they look lovely together? The sedums as well. You just mix them with the sedums. Look at that. Isn't that a lovely combination? Isn't that a lovely combination of plants? Lovely. Okay, well, enough talking. Let me get planting. So I'm just going to thin out this area a little bit. Thin out some of the anemone. Because if anybody's ever planted anemone as beautiful as they are, and they are that, they can take over a whole area. They really can. They can become quite a dominant plant. I know I have in this area somewhere, which is why I have this to support it. I do have somewhere here some peonies. The heads of the peonies can get quite heavy and sort of like collapse down. So I placed this just around the heads of the peonies to keep them upright. But I think the September charm or the anemones are sort of overtaking that area a little bit. So I'm going to be thinning them out just slightly. I found the skeleton of something. What was that? Can anybody please tell me what this once was? It's definitely the head of something. A squirrel, possibly. Maybe even something else, but it's definitely the skeletal remains. So that's the sort of area I've just really thinned out. Just one anemone was pulled out from there, but I have pulled out now quite a bit of the comfrey. That said, the roots of the comfrey are still in that ground, so they will pop up and fill as an underlay, like a ground level and covering there as well anyway. But I just want to make a little bit of space here so I can put these plants in, and that's what I'm going to do now. Just sort of lay them out to get an idea of how it feels. And bearing in mind the other plants that currently are in situation as well. So I'm just putting these to get an idea of what this bed will then look like once these are planted out. So it's a good idea just to leave them in the pots. Just to leave them in the pots and get an idea of height and proportion and colours as well. So that's what I'm doing first. Initially when you plant, they might look sparse, but within time they will grow and fill the area. I love actually already the look of the anemone next to the Echinacea. I love that look already. They definitely do complement each other, don't they, in this border. Okay, so I went back and forth with positioning the plants, and I finally come up with my planting plan. I thought I'd spare you because I really started and then stopped and then changed my mind and then placed them somewhere else. But I've now planted, or I've now placed them, positioned them as I would like them to be, which is why I'm going to now plant them out. I have the poppies and they'll be showing themselves in the springtime just underneath the apple tree. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to plant them out. I'm sure I said that a long while ago, but I was just indecisive, as I often am in the garden. I'm going to now plant these out. Okay, so on digging, I can see that I'm digging where the peony is. I can see the root of the peony, that's for sure. I recognise that, that's the peony. So I'm going to have to shift this slightly somewhere else. And that's what happens in gardening. You have a plan and then you come up with a plan B. So I have to put that back. That's definitely part of the peony, I recognise that. And I'm just going to find another position for this. Maybe just slightly forward. Slightly forward. I think that I recognise is comfrey. So that one I'm going to take out because I have plenty of comfrey. I can always replant comfrey. This is also comfrey. And you can see it just sends out like runner type things and just grows and grows and grows. So I can take that out, and in its place I'll put this echinacea. That one's a little bit loose. I'll support it with the soil. Now I'll water it in very well. I going to leave the labels out for now. I don't often leave plastic labels out, not often, but I'm going to leave them there at the moment because I do plan. I'm going to leave the labels out because I do plan to put a slug trap here, and I'm going to use, well, I nearly gave it away, so I told you I'm going to show you what happened with my hostas, and this plant, as you can see, loves being eaten by the slugs and snails. So I'm going to leave this out there just so that I can recognise its position, and later on today, if I have time, or perhaps for another video, I'm going to show you what I'm going to try and do to preserve this plant and prevent it from being eaten up by the slugs. We do not use any slug repellent. We do not use any chemicals, pesticides, or any such thing, of that nature in our gardens. But I am going to see if I can come up with a cunning plan. Oh, look at that! I found a marble. Oh wow, look at that! Pretty as well. Is it in shot? Can you see that? It's lovely. That's lovely. The blue marble. Shall we leave it right there? And the job is finished. So I've planted them out, and all that remains is for me to water them in. Look at the vibrant colours. As with most plants, when you initially plant them in, they look a little weary. But these will fill out this gap in no time, I'm hoping. So I need to water them all in very well. And say thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being in the garden. Thank you for being with me in nature. Thank you, and see you in the next video.